I will rain down on a godly ranking firestorm upon you. You're going to have to call the ranking United Nations and get a ranking binding resolution to keep me from ranking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, mother ranker. I will massacre you.
What is up? Welcome into Adjust the Ranks, a part of the Double FU, the FU times 2, the fantasy football universe. I am Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel on Twitter. Today we are talking Guillotine Leagues. We're going to do a little bit of a mock draft, which of course is pretty difficult to do. So we're going to do it on a platform. We're going to be using Fantasy Pros ECR to kind of walk us through that and talk a little bit about the differences between a standard full PPR league and a full PPR guillotine league, which we're going to be playing. Of course, one of the major differences being that we have 18 teams in a guillotine league. We need those 2 teams at the end, week 17, to face off against each other. So, of course, from going from a 10 or 12 team league to an 18 team league is something pretty significant. Additionally, things like early season schedule, things like safety over kind of upside are some of the things you want to consider early because, of course, the draft is a much smaller part of the game than in other leagues. Certainly, you're playing a lot of in-season management type strategies when you're talking about guillotine. So we'll get into this. We'll get into that. We'll get into all of that. Before we do, just a couple of quick notes from us here at the FFU. First of all, we have a Discord. The Fantasy Football Universe Discord is always in the description of our YouTube videos. It will be in the description here as well once this goes off. I don't have it on hand, but you can go access that on our Twitter in our link tree. It is there. You can join up, talk ball with everybody from the FFU. The other thing is, if you have not tried Fast Draft yet, you can get 100% first time deposit match of up to $25 using our promo code FFU. So before we fire this thing up, just to give you a sense of what's going on here in a guillotine league. Let's see if we can remove this and actually have a decent screen. Here we go. So this is what happened with me in my most recent guillotine league. Of course, it's only the first few rounds. I think we're only going 10 rounds today simply because that's 180 players, right, in an 18-team league. So it's plenty of players we need to discuss the situation here, but we're not going to go super deep. If you want super deep sleepers, that will be a show coming up, probably our roundtable on Saturday, just to give you a bunch of guys outside of the normal Ja'Cory Krusky merit of the world. So that's another story for another situation. But here, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about and places where I feel very comfortable, how I landed from the 114 and places where I don't feel comfortable currently. This draft is ongoing. We're in the 14th and final round at the moment. So let's just walk through this and we'll talk about it. So in the first round, of course, we are full PPR, although this league actually changes from week to week, but let's just consider it a standard guillotine. I went Drake London in the first round. Drake London is a mid-second round pick, of course, but at the same time, I feel very comfortable with him and the safety that he presents me over a Brian Thomas. Of course, Brock Bowers was available to me. That would have been an interesting pick as well. I was hoping Trey McBride would come back to me, why I didn't go Bowers. You can see over here the yellow in the corner at the 2-2, which would be pick 20. That's where Trey McBride went, so slightly earlier. And so I had to pivot and wait all the way to the 6th round to get Kyle Pitts. But Drake London in the first, very happy with him, very safe with Drake London. And let's just look at the beginning schedule here as I pull it up. Drake London gets Tampa, Minnesota, Carolina in the first 3 weeks of the season, and then Washington in week 4 before his bye. So the first month of the season, but especially those first 3 games, set up beautifully for Drake London. Of course, Minnesota has a decent defense, but that secondary is really the liability there. Tampa trying to put it together, but I don't think they have it still. They're going to rely on that offense and be in a bunch of shootouts. And then, of course, we know what Carolina is on defense. All of these teams will struggle to guard the passing attack. And, of course, you can see Drake London and Kyle Pitts on this team for me. So I do not hate the early season run out there. And that's kind of what helped me lean slightly London over Bowers, certainly London over Thomas. So in the first round, great. Second round, we got Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving just going to see a ton of volume. Chase Brown had already gone in full PPR. I want the safety, the relative safety for me of Bucky over Josh Jacobs. We're talking about age. We're talking about concerns about workload year on year on year. And then Kyron Williams, we don't exactly know what's going on with Matthew Stafford, although Sean McVay is basically saying it's wheels up for week 1 for Stafford. So we're good there. But still, give me Bucky on a really good offense. And of course, we look at the early season schedule. Atlanta, Houston, not great. Houston has a good defense. Jets, Philly. So not a good early season schedule. But after Chase Brown went, for me, I wanted Bucky. In the third, Kenneth Walker is kind of where I feel like I went wrong there. At the 3-5, not super happy about that. Maybe someone like Amarian Hampton, who may have already gone, but Ryan is saying he doesn't want anything to do with Amarian Hampton at ADP. Depends where his ADP ends up. But if he's middle of the third round in a standard draft here, that would be like end of the second. I don't mind it. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky situation. I think the real issue is not Najee Harris. It's just kind of what happens with that Chargers offense. And that defense will be forced to throw. But Kenneth Walker, we know he's a little bit riskier. It's the injury. It's the Zach Charbonnet potentially kind of eating into the workload. That's the concern. But Kenneth Walker, again, talk about his schedule. It's San Francisco, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Arizona, Tampa, Jacksonville over the beginning. So decent schedule, and he should be healthy in the beginning of the year. But he's already not healthy, right? So a concern there, a little bit of a risk with Walker. Bucky, not the greatest schedule, but happy enough with those wide running backs. Judy at wide receiver, that's a big yes, and plays Cincinnati week 1, stud. Igbuka, we know he's going to be the guy there early in the season, at least in terms of volume. Then Pitts, Bigsby, and then just to give you a sense of where we ended up here in this 18-team guillotine, I got Trevor Lawrence, Ali Gordon, Alec Ayamanor, Joe Flacco, Tyler Lockett, and I got De'Ami Brown, and we are finishing up the 14th, so it's a lot. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, this is just to give you a sense of what these guillotines can look like. Ryan is telling me if I can unblock my face. There we go. Ryan, what are you talking about? Mixon's going to miss the first 4 games. I'm not sure that's anything official, but we are certainly concerned if Mixon is officially on the PUP. Maybe that's what Ryan's referring to. At the same time, I think Mixon may miss a lot more than that. We just don't know the status of him. Talk about workload concerns at an advanced age catching up with you over time. Mixon is the poster child for that. Unfortunately, great career, really surprisingly good season last year in a good situation, but I want to look in another direction. Officially a pup right now for Mixon. Yeah, it's just a scary situation there. Do not draft Mixon 4th, 5th, 6th. He's off my board. No, thank you. But all of that being said, let's get into the guillotine mock here. And once again, we are doing it on Fantasy Pros. So you see what's going on here, and we're just going to kind of walk through it and talk through it, talk about the values, the guys who exist there, and talk a little bit about their early season schedules, just to give you a sense of where you might want to go in your Guillotine League and why you might want to select these players. So right here, you see, again, it's just full PPRs, 4 points per passing touchdown, no tight end premium, so just standard PPR. We got Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson. I purposely picked the 105 because I wanted to, I did randomize it, but I wanted to be earlier in the draft just to kind of see, look, the first pick is going to be pretty much chalk, right? You pick your flavor of Jahmyr Gibbs, Barkley. You know, if you're a Christian McCaffrey guy, that's fine. The safety of Gibbs for me is exactly where I'm going to go. And you see these bye weeks listed here, 8, 9 for Barkley, 14 for Neighbors. I do not care about bye weeks, especially in a Guillotine League. You want the guys to produce in the first couple of weeks. Your roster will turn over and change dramatically. Guys who go on IR, you're just straight dropping them because you know other studs will be available in the coming weeks. It's, you know, survive and move on week to week. In these first couple of weeks, you just want the stability of, you know, high producing studs. Now, if we look at Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, he's in a great situation, and he gets Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland. So not the ideal matchup, but you can also look at it a different way. It's super not ideal for David Montgomery. So Jahmyr Gibbs may actually get a slight bump in usage. Number one, because Green Bay, Chicago, and Baltimore should all be top end type of offenses where they're giving you, top 12 to 10 scoring offenses on a weekly basis. And we know the Detroit defense is not super strong, especially now losing Aaron Glenn. So, that's an option here. But we also have Saquon Barkley. And for me, we have to consider Saquon here. I know it's full PPR, but Saquon obviously the RB1, and he gets Dallas in week 1. So he's a heavy consideration here. I really do want running back because it's not going to come back to me. And then the third guy we're looking at is Christian McCaffrey. Surprisingly, somehow, one of the only healthy guys in that entire San Francisco locker room on offense. Crazy part about Christian McCaffrey is he starts with Seattle and gets New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville over the first month of the season, and he's going to be healthy. I got to do it. Gibbs feels safer, but the schedule for me will lean Christian McCaffrey. If I can get 3-4 healthy weeks out of him, I want a long-term stud for the entirety of the year. But we know Christian McCaffrey has that upside. And because of the early season schedule, I know he's not going to knock me out. All he needs to do is stay on the field. But you can say this for a lot of these guys. Moving on to the second round, after I've taken McCaffrey, here you see my options here. George Kittle, right? We need to close this board real quick. You see kind of strange things in the ECR with what people are doing. Tyreek Hill here going at the 118. That's middle of the second round. He's kind of been creeping up lately since more and more drafts have been done, but I don't think the ECR is necessarily there. This is more kind of an ADP play. Tyreek Hill really shouldn't be. He's almost always going in the third round, sometimes early third round. It's really ugly with Tyreek Hill. I don't want anything to do with it. Give me all of these guys, even in full PPR. Henry, JSN, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Trey McBride. Garrett Wilson, I think, is where you start to question things. But then look at all these running backs here. I want all of these guys, including the quarterbacks, over Tyreek Hill. I don't get it. Lad McConkey also very high. But hey, full PPR, why not? But you see how the talent pool dries up so quickly. Kind of sneaks up on you in an 18-teamer because you're really getting a round and a half in for every round that you pick. So here my options are George Kittle, Jaden Daniels. I would like to go for an elite onesie, especially because I'm looking at Cook, Hampton, maybe even Walker. Wide receivers, just no way for me in this particular range. So let's just have a look at George Kittle. We just went through the entirety of that schedule. It's really nice for Kittle, and I would love a tight end. But here's one thing that you need to really consider in your guillotine leagues. Do not stack your players. Sometimes, maybe the Seattle defense gets the better, very unlikely, but gets the better of the San Francisco offense. Maybe the San Francisco offense, because of all the injuries, they're not ready week 1. And Brock Purdy just has a down game. And Seattle's pass rush has developed over the offseason, which is entirely possible. Maybe they just find a way to not only win that game, but also limit the offense. If I take George Kittle here, having already taken Christian McCaffrey, now I'm setting myself up for supreme failure. And what am I going to do with McCaffrey and Kittle? Am I going to take Purdy later? The stack is nice, but in the Guillotine League, the stack can kill you and kind of chop you out. So be very careful about that. So really my consideration here is Jaden Daniels. He's probably the guy that I want over everybody else. So let's just take a look at his schedule and see what we're working with here. Week 1, Giants. Week 2, Green Bay. Week 3, Vegas. Week 4, Atlanta. I like to run out. Jaden Daniels is elite. Schedule is not everything, but it is a tiebreaker for me. I am more than happy to kind of play the schedule game and see what happens. So in doing that, you can see George Kittle just goes just before me here at 304. We had Adams, Devonta Smith, Joe Burrow, Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, Courtland Sutton, Alvin Kamara, and Kittle go. So Jalen Hurts is still out there for some reason, but you can see what we're working with here. Now we have Mike Evans. He's a possibility. Of course, we are, if you look at the teams, we just have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. We have 2 flex positions. So relatively deep rosters. We're going 8 rounds deep with these rosters. So 8 times 18, quick math. I don't know, 690, 116. I don't even know if that's correct, but over 100 players for sure who are going to go here, and guys that we need to consider. So there's going to be some deep plays going into the flex, but I digress. If you look at the cheat sheets that are available here and we hide the drafted players, you can see the guys who are available in this range. Tet is interesting, Chuba as well, Marion Hampton. And I think just because I want to see how it plays out, and just because Ryan was talking some shit about Amarian Hampton, I'm going to take him here. Let's just look him up real quick. The Chargers get Kansas City, not great, but then Vegas, Denver, not good. The Giants and Washington, really tough run out for him in the beginning of the season with a schedule. And we don't want to lose in the first week. The other guy I would consider here would be James Cook. I think his ADP has normalized and he's going right where he should be going. James Cook's schedule is Baltimore, Jets, Miami. Baltimore Jets, not great, but Miami, New Orleans, pretty nice in weeks 3 and 4. And you can get past Baltimore and the Jets simply because he's more of a pass catching back. Hampton might be a thumper. I'm going to go James Cook over Hampton in this case. And again, I know we're splitting hairs a little bit. I like both of these players at cost in this particular range, but what we're dealing with is kind of a situation where we are not going to win, but we just need to not lose a week, and we're trying to bank on safety now. Christian McCaffrey, he's healthy now, right? We know he's not safe long-term, but he's probably safe those first couple of weeks. Daniels and Cook as well. But in the 4th round, you see some tight ends go. You see we're all the way down to the RJ Harvey range. And all of my favorite wide receivers have gone here in the 4th from Hunter, Williams, Pickens, not Myers, but those 3 especially. We might have to reach to Waddle. As you can see, we are limited in our wide receiver and tight end range. So let's see who's available to us. The pick predictor is saying guys like Jerry Jeudy. And Jerry Jeudy, you saw I did take him in the 4th round of my particular Guillotine League just a couple of days ago, and that's wrapping up now. The reason I did is because he gets Cincinnati in week 1. Well, he's a top wide receiver on the board. We do have Roma Dunze here. I wonder which one gets back to us. You see the pick predictor here, but between Rome and Stephon Diggs, I do not mind. I think Pearsall, and Ibuka are down here. So I like both of those guys. I'm going to go ahead and take Jeudy. He's safe because he plays Cincinnati, and he's got a healthy Joe Flacco for week 1. So very happy about that. But you see Rome, Ibuka, and Pearsall all go off the board. That means Diggs is a near lock for me here. I can look at the tight ends. There's no way I'm taking Laporta in this range, although we had Ingram and Kelsey go before him. That's a bit odd. We do have Mark Andrews available, but you can see Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft. We have some other options down the line. TJ Hawkinson is still here as well. So let's go back to wide receiver. I think it's going to be Steph Diggs. The only problem with Diggs in the Guillotine League is he's said himself that he doubts he plays week 1. Now, I know he's been healthy, but Vegas, Miami, Pittsburgh, Carolina for Steph Diggs. I mean, it's beautiful in terms of the schedule early on. It's really nice all year long. And the latest on Diggs, that's from an hour ago. Diggs, quote unquote, looks ready for week 1. But that's just from kind of the beat over in New England. We don't know if that is certain for Diggs. That's a sticky situation, but I really would like a wide receiver too. And I'm not going to be able to wait on a guy like Diggs. We can just take a look at Andrews really quickly because I also need to fill tight end. And I think now that Ingram is gone, Andrews really, it becomes the value, especially in the middle or early, I guess, 5th round. We're talking about really an 8th round of value in a standard league, if my math is correct. He gets Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, KC, Houston, and the Rams. I Do not love that schedule. We're a little concerned about the volume, as Mark Andrews had to become very efficient over the second half of the season to really produce. I'm going to bite the bullet and take Steph Diggs and hope that he's available for that early season beautiful schedule. And again, splitting the hairs here on two players I like in the range simply because of what the schedule says. I wish he was a little healthier, but it is what it is. So let's quickly take a look at our team here through 5 rounds and staring the 6th round pick in the face. We've got Jaden Daniels, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Jerry Jeudy, and Stephon Diggs. Another thing that you'll notice here in a Guillotine League is I'm looking for a balanced build. I'm very happy to have filled out my starting roster slots with the exception of tight end, and then now basically just looking for flexes. Of course, I'm not going to double up on QB. You wouldn't do that in a normal league with a high-end QB, but you're certainly not going to do it here. It's Jaden Daniels or bust. McCaffrey and Cook kind of make me want to lean running back, but of course the Diggs concern with the injury, if he doesn't play in week 1 or even in week 2, which is still open, it's still a possibility, just to kind of make sure he's completely healthy. And because that schedule is so sweet, maybe New England doesn't even need him for week 1 or 2. That is a slight concern. I will lean wide receiver, but would like to kind of get a running back or 2. You see Joe Mixon, who Ryan was just referencing, off the board at the 6-11. That is late, but there is no late in terms of drafting Joe Mixon. Just don't do it. Let's get back to, we don't need suggestions. We just need rankings. Debo's interesting, but you got Jordan Mason there as well. Mason's probably going to be my pick here, especially since I do not need quarterback. You see Purdy, but especially Fields as values there. Let's just take a look at what we're looking at with Jordan Mason. But I really do believe in the Minnesota offense to move the football and believe in J.J. McCarthy to get it done. Chicago, Atlanta, Cincy, Pittsburgh. The Atlanta front is probably the best part of that team, although the back end getting stronger. Chicago, I don't think fully there on defense. And then, of course, Cincy, you can run all over them. I'm going to go ahead and take Jordan Mason and see what comes back to me in terms of tight end or wide receiver. So Charbonnet, I'm fine missing out on him. Debo, Warren, Reed, Keenan Allen, good value there at the 701. Quinshawn, Justin Fields, and Brock Purdy. So I have my choice of Matthew Golden, Tucker Kraft, Tank Bigsby, and Big Bill, and Cam Scatterbo. I'm leaning Kraft, but Golden is also a possibility. Let's take a look at Tucker Kraft. I mean, the one thing about Tucker Kraft and this particular offense, we just do not know exactly how it's going to go. But he gets Detroit in week 1, pretty awful at the linebacker position in Detroit, and the secondary isn't much better, especially those safeties. Of course, you got Brian Branch. Now, if Brian Branch is covering Tucker Kraft the whole game, we're screwed, but maybe, they play more 3 wide and we get more Jaden Reed, out on the field than usual. Please, Green Bay, make this happen. I don't know that it will. So Tucker Kraft, not excited about him. But don't hate it. Matthew Golden is interesting as well in the same situation, but I would take Kraft over Golden given this particular schedule, simply because Detroit is pretty depleted at the linebacker position. Then you get Washington, Cleveland, Dallas. So Dallas, I think you can get over on, but Washington and Cleveland, those are going to be some tough matchups. But maybe because the pass rush, especially against Cleveland, is going to be so tricky. And even Detroit, if Hutchinson's fully healthy, maybe he's looking to get the ball out quick. If Mason's on the field, maybe it becomes Tucker Kraft season. The one other thing I'll look at is Jake Ferguson. Of course, you have to really love the Cowboys offense because the Cowboys defense is non-existent. Micah Parsons is nowhere to be found. Trevon Diggs is probably not, going to start the season on the PUP or IR. I'm not sure if that's official yet, but they get Philly, the Giants, and Chicago with Jake Ferguson. We know everybody is going to put all their resources into guarding CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Jake Ferguson is probably the forgotten man there, But if you have a good linebacker core or safety who can guard him one-on-one, then there's no issue there. But Dak also likes to hyper-target him. I prefer Ferguson to Tucker Kraft in this range, but I don't really want to take either one. I'll go Ferguson, just kind of banking on heavy volume, and we'll see how it goes from here. So back to me in the 8th round. We'll just take a peek at my team. So we have one flex. We are filled up here. Of course, Jake Ferguson is injured now. What is this? What is happening here? He didn't play in the preseason game. Okay, I'm not so concerned about it, but he does have a lower back concern. He left Thursday's practice early due to a lower back contusion. He's got a big bruise. I think Ferguson will be okay. So looking at the board here, we saw Dobbs go. Ayuk, a nice value. Some tight ends who I don't necessarily love in 2025. Some running backs who I have mixed feelings about in 2025 as well. So it was a pretty good setup for me. I didn't lose anybody who I was kind of excited about. And then I have the opportunity to get Trey Benson, who I really enjoy and try to leave drafts with, Dylan Sampson. And we talked about that Cleveland schedule, especially Cincinnati in week 1. Quinshon Judkins, if he's there, if he isn't, could be Dylan Sampson handling the bulk of the load there in week 1. So we'll see about that. I like Pop. Thielen could be a Viking. I like that. Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims getting all the hype. So there's lots of interesting options here. But I'm probably going to go Trey Benson. Just going to double check and take a look at his schedule. But Trey Benson has the contingent upside, of course, if old man Connor gets hurt. At the same time, New Orleans, Carolina, San Francisco, Seattle, Tennessee, Indy in the first 6 weeks. Arizona has one of the best schedules across the NFL, just in terms of win-loss from previous season and how strong these teams are meant to be, but also facing off against really, really poor defenses. They also play the AFC North. So they play Cincinnati. That's a big win. And I think they play the South as well. They got Jacksonville in there. They got Indy. So they actually play the South and Cincinnati. So Jacksonville, of course, Tennessee defense not there, Indy defense not there. So that's a really, really nice schedule for Arizona. I'm going to go ahead and smash Trey Benson there. Of course, you'd like James Conner, especially early in the season in this format. I will go ahead and take Benson there. In the 9th round, again, just 2 more rounds in this particular mock draft, but I'm very set at running back. Let's just review the team here. Jaden Daniels at quarterback, McCaffrey and James Cook at running back. We got 2 more running backs in the flex, Jordan Mason and Trey Benson. Again, it is full PPR. So with Mason and Benson, a little concern there, but taking that relative safety of the guys who should have more or less a workload or a split workload there in their respective backfields. And then at wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy with a nice Cincinnati game in week 1. And of course, Joe Flacco throwing him the football, very comfortable with that. Stephon Diggs, hopefully he's healthy enough to play in week 1. Great opening schedule for him, and he's the clear one in New England. Expect big things from Diggs this season if healthy. And then, of course, Jake Ferguson. It was Ferguson or Tucker Kraft. We went with the volume plus schedule of Jake Ferguson over Tucker Kraft, but really you could have kind of picked your flavor there. Another guy I like and who I ended up taking in my previous real Guillotine League was Kyle Pitts. And again, it's simply because of that schedule that we talked about with Drake London. Kyle Pitts is going to see more work than we kind of expect him to or want him to. The question is, will he be able to produce with it? But Tampa, Minnesota, Carolina in weeks 1 through 3, Kyle Pitts is a really nice value, especially in the late 8th. Now we need to fill out a bench. Again, we are ignoring QB in such a shallow league. Running back is good. Ideally, I would get at least 1, if not 2 wide receivers. We'll see who is available here. Let's see. Here's the overall. So let's look at wide receiver. We got Marvin Mims. He's an interesting one, but Pop Douglas is certainly much safer and should see the volume. At the same time, we have Stephon Diggs. So we know the schedule is good for Pop, but, are we starting Diggs and Pop weekly? Probably not. So that might be a bet on Diggs maybe being held out a game or two. I don't love it. And again, we're talking about stacking, so that's probably a no-go. Some of these guys are injured. Marvin Mims is probably the only guy I'd go with. We'll take a look at his schedule in a second. On the other hand, we have really nothing. Dylan Sampson is probably the guy I'm going to go with here in this particular range. Let's just take a look. We got Ray Davis. Here's Sampson. These are the running back position. Yeah, nothing else really catching my eye. Sampson is the guy who should have the week 1 role. And if we just have a look, of course, it could be Jerome Ford. That's a possibility. But Sampson did run ahead of him in their latest preseason game. And he's got Cincy week 1, Baltimore, Green Bay, Detroit, not great. But Dylan Sampson for the week 1 vibes and the potential that he takes over as opposed to someone with just upside like a Marvin Mims. And then the other consideration is we're going to go about 20, about 20 picks, maybe more here. Marvin Mims would be probably a good pick here. If we picked Mims, we'll just have a look at him and see. Yeah, Mims playing Tennessee, Indy, the Chargers, Cincy in the first 4 weeks. So that's a sweet schedule. Mims probably should have been the play here. I imagine he's gone. He almost made it back to us. That would have been a nice shot there. I don't think I can take my guy, Demario Douglas, simply because I have Diggs, but we do need a wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, not really going to make that bet. Again, beginning of the season, he's probably healthy. But a name that really keeps climbing up draft boards and that's super interesting to me is Alec Eomanor. Let's take a look at Tennessee's schedule. We know Cam Ward and all the hype he's getting. They get Denver and the Rams weeks 1 and 2. That's going to be a struggle for those guys, whether you like Eomanor or Lockett. It's probably just a no-go for me. Jalen Coker is the other guy who benefits from a potential Adam Thielen trade. And so let's look at Coker's early season, Jacksonville, Arizona, Atlanta. That's really nice. New England week 4, not nice. Week 5, Miami. Week 6, Dallas. So Coker really emerged last season. I expect him to continue to emerge over Xavier Legette. So Coker is an interesting pick here. And then I don't think we can do another running back because we must be, we'll be crazy to do it. Samson, Benson, Mason, Cook, and McCaffrey. We are running back crazy here in full PPR. I don't love it, but sometimes you just got to take the value that is given to you. We need a wide receiver here. I would love to take Pop. Yeah, I'll take Coker for the vibes, but I don't like it. I would prefer Pop, and at least that way we have one guy on the New England Patriots who can do some damage. But let's take a look at the full analysis that Fantasy Pros gives to us. So they're giving me an 86 out of 100. I'll take it. 8th out of 18. And let's see what they don't like about it. Hey, this time I didn't agree with myself. So different draft maybe than I would have normally taken. But yeah, they're saying if I take Devontae Adams and Jordan Love instead of Daniels and Coker, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's the reason I haven't been taking early quarterback, but we did it here. Early quarterback, a light tight end is not it. Certainly for me, right? I end up with Jaden Daniels, but also Jake Ferguson at the same time. I could have ended up very true with, instead of Daniels at the 214, I had the opportunity to take Kittle. You take Kittle there, but you can see what Christian McCaffrey does. McCaffrey and Kittle stacked up, not necessarily the best strategy. So we'll look at the strengths here. Strengths obviously in the running back position. We got 2 running backs and a flex. Of course, the flexes are nice, suffering at wide receiver. But you got to suffer somewhere. And otherwise, the balance is pretty solid. So if I'm 8th out of 18, I'll take it. I'll last a while. And then it becomes how you manage the rest of this in season, right? Who do you, who are you able to pick up and how do you pick them up in a guillotine league? Well, there's a couple of rules of thumb. Number one, do not blow your entire load early. Be very careful and selective about who you choose, especially, as we know, guys can get injured. If you want to last long, it's just, survive week to week. Don't worry about winning the week. That doesn't get you anything. Just be better than the last place team. And so find safety on the waiver wire, play matchups a little bit more than you would, but hold on to your fab. You're going to need to spend that later in the in the season, putting that money on guys who can really add value. Now, the way that this guillotine league that I'm involved in now works is that every 2 weeks, the ante is raised. So in week 3, we add a flex position. In week 2, we had a flex. In week 4, we had a super flex position, which is very interesting. Week 6, a wide receiver. Week 8, a running back. So there's a lot of variety and variation in how you approach the draft and what you'd look to do on the waiver wire and who will become available. So interesting wrinkles like that can have you draft differently. But number one, just make sure you know your league settings as always. Number 2, conserve that fab as much as you can. If somebody comes on the wire week 1 or 2 that you really believe in, go after them. But, if you're spending 50-60% of your budget, you're going to be hurting later, especially when you need that money. So again, you don't have to win week 3 over 18 other teams. You just have to win it over 1. So keep that in mind. And finally, find the holes in your roster. For my particular roster, my holes are at wide receiver, but I also am relying on Christian McCaffrey and Mr. Regression James Cook, right? So while those guys are strong, it is a consideration. I have a deeper running back roster, but they're not necessarily RB1s on their own team, right? Jordan Mason, of course, contends with Aaron Rodgers. You got Trey Benson contending with James Conner. And who's it? Trey Benson? No, I missed somebody in there. And whoever my other running back is, where are we? Dylan Sampson, of course. Judkins, Jerome Ford, who knows? So a lot of different considerations here. So I'll go after wide receiver early, of course. But it's possible that Judy and Diggs are great values for me all season long and return that value. So just a lot to consider, a lot of moving parts, but at least for the draft and for the first week or 2, I feel very comfortable with where my team is and just building on it from there, especially with a very strong quarterback. Should I do with a strong tight end? I would. I hope you do. There's plenty of quarterback value later on. But anyway, that's enough of this. This has been Adjust the Ranks, a part of the Double FU, the FU times 2, the fantasy football universe. We got lots of stuff going on. We got a Discord. Check it out in the description of this video, description of all our videos. We've got a promo code for Fast Draft. If you haven't tried it, try it. They got all sorts of contests going on all off season and I believe in season long. It's an alternative to Underdog. The drafts are faster than Underdog, hence the name. 100% first time deposit match of up to $25, free $25 for you using promo code FFU. And of course, we are doing 30 mocks in 30 days. It is the 25th of August. So we are now through 25 mock drafts. We have all of that pinned to the FFU page on Twitter. We also have a playlist running in YouTube, and you can access all that, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want, to check out all of these previous mock drafts. And we're rotating it up, right? So we did a Guillotine League today. Yesterday, we did a full PPR, did half PPR a couple days ago. We did ESPN. We did Yahoo mocks to give you just a variety and a sense of what to do on different platforms. We've had guests. I've done solo shows. So there's a lot here to unpack, but just find the one that applies to you. Go ahead and take a look, and hopefully you'll be able to take something away from it to help you win your draft and ultimately win your league. So that's it for me. I am Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining. We will see you next time.
Mock, yeah, ing, yeah, bird,
Yeah, 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 Mockingbird.